Well, good morning. It's great to be with you. Thank you for the opportunity to bring greetings from Jackson to you. It's great to come and see many of my old friends. I tell you, you've got a number of alums from the legislature who work among your ranks now. We just heard from Mayor Barker, and Commissioner Simmons is here, Mayor Hughes. I know Mayor George Flaggs is now among your ranks, Alex Mansour. All these individuals worked with me at the Capitol. Maybe there's some others that I haven't seen that I don't remember, but it's great to come back and see all these individuals. Mayor Barker from Hattiesburg was a dedicated member of the House of Representatives. He was always a champion of controlled spending and making sure we were good stewards of the taxpayer money. He always claimed to me that he could balance the budget. If I'd just give him the time, he could balance the budget. And I always questioned about that. He said, well, there's only three kinds of people in the world. He said, those who can count and those who can't. I said, all right. Some of y'all still thinking about that, aren't you? Had a lady one time tell me, said, what's the third kind? It's good to come and see old friends. I want to follow up on what Mayor Simmons said. We did have a big year in the legislature this year. I'm very proud of some of the things we accomplished. I hope you are beginning to reap the benefits of that. I would go back to 2018 and point to the road and bridge plan that we passed in 2018. Many of you will know and recall that that year we passed a plan to put $50 million a year into our cities around the state. I'm hoping that many of you are beginning to see the fruits of that those dollars are coming, and they're actually coming in stronger than we anticipated. That will provide you with the opportunity to do infrastructure, roads, bridges, water, sewer needs that you have in your towns. We want to work with you to help you be successful. We did that this year with the American Rescue Plan dollars that he mentioned. We had about $1.8 billion that came down from the federal government. We took 1.5 of that and spent it this year. We're holding about $300 million in reserves, but half of what we spent went to water and sewer needs around the state between the cities and the counties. I hope that is a huge step in the right direction for you as you seek to provide those services to your citizens. He mentioned the teacher pay raise. We now passed this year the largest teacher pay raise in the history of the state of Mississippi. I believe that too will help your cities and your school systems thrive. I've already received reports from around the state, particularly one of my legislators in North Mississippi, right on the Tennessee line, called me and he said, I have received 4 phone calls from 4 seasoned teachers, all of whom are eligible to retire, and all of whom are going to retire, go across the line to Tennessee and get another job, draw retirement in Mississippi, and draw a salary in Tennessee. But because we passed the teacher pay raise, all 4 of those ladies called me and said, we're staying in Mississippi because of this teacher pay raise. So now we see that we're retaining our more seasoned teachers, which is a phenomenal thing because they are the ones who can provide great education to our children. But we also are seeing an increase in the number of students, college students, who choose to go into the profession of education. Because the salaries were so low, many of them just chose not to become teachers. But with this new teacher pay raise, we now have exceeded our starting average teacher salary exceeds not only the southeastern average, but the national average. So we have now provided an incentive for young people to go into the profession, provide that education we so desperately need to our young children that will hopefully result in jobs around the state and prosperity. We passed this year the largest tax cut in the history of the state. We have struggled for years to retain our young people. We'll call it brain drain. Young people grow up in Mississippi and they choose not to come back. They move off. This is another thing that will provide an incentive for them to stay in Mississippi. We let people keep more of their hard-earned money in their pockets. Then what do they do with it? They're going to spend it. And as they spend it, the businesses in your communities thrive. Everybody in this country, everybody who has a job sells a product or a service. One of the two. You either sell a service or you sell a product. The economists that took our plan and looked at it said if we got rid of the income tax in this state, it would result in an increase in our GDP, gross domestic product, of $371 million a year. Gross domestic product is defined as the sale of goods and services. So what they're telling us is if we find a way to get rid of the income tax, we will sell, your businesses will sell, the businesses in your town will sell $371 million more of stuff every year. That results in economic prosperity for your cities and our towns around the state. So these are just some of the things that we did this year. There's a whole long list of accomplishments that we made. I won't belabor the point because we are short on time. But I had one of the newspaper people wrote an article on January the 4th, the day we started the legislative session. One of the newspaper people wrote an article that talked about everything that the legislature had before it this last year. ARPA funds, income tax, teacher pay, redistricting, medical marijuana, on the list went. And he questioned whether or not we could get it done. So at my post-session interview in April, when we ended the session, I had a copy of that article with me. And when he walked in the room, I handed it to him and I said, now you wrote this article on January the 4th questioning whether or not we could get all these things done. Not only did we do everything on your list, we did more than that. Now I want you to write an article telling that we did it. And he kind of laughed and I said, I'm serious. I said, you need to write that article. And he gave us one paragraph in his next article. But be that as it may, I at least squeezed that out of him. But I'm very proud of the work of the legislature this past session. Any one of those issues that I mentioned could have occupied the entire session in and of themselves. If we'd accomplished one of those, we would have called it a successful session. You could expend a lot of time and a lot of political capital trying to get any of those things passed, and we did about 12 or 15. So I'm very proud of the work our legislature did this last year. I hope that you will begin to see the fruits of those pieces of legislation in your cities, in your towns. And we, of course, want to work closely with you to make sure that we're all successful. If we all succeed, Mississippi succeeds, and we can all be proud of that. I want to commend Sherry. She does a great job for you at the Capitol. She is a great representative for you. She is knowledgeable, she is hardworking, but she's also kind and trustworthy. And when you have somebody like that, you've got a good representative in your corner. So thank you so much for letting me come and say a few words to you. I hope you have a successful conference. Thank you.